I knew something was off the moment she walked through the door. Not because she was late. Not because her hair was messier than usual. Not because her tennis bag clattered to the floor like she didn't care. I knew because I could smell him on her. Cologne. Sweat. That electric tang of adrenaline and lust. It wasn't mine. It wasn't us. My name is Marcus. I'm 34. And up until 3 months ago, I thought I was engaged to the love of my life. Jessica, 28, smiling, ambitious, bright-eyed. She had this fire in her when she played tennis, like she could break the world open with a single serve. She'd picked it up again last year after a break, said she wanted to feel like herself again. I supported her. Bought her the best racket. Paid for lessons at that fancy club uptown. Booked time off work to watch her matches. I thought I was helping her chase a dream. Instead, I was bankrolling her affair. The coach was named Brandon. Mid-40s. Tanned, lean, a little too charming. I didn't like him from the start. But Jessica laughed when I said that. Told me not to be jealous. He's practically a second dad to me, she said. Yeah. A second dad who sends her winky emojis at 11 p.m. I wanted to believe her. God, I really did. But that night, as she passed me on the way to the shower, the scent hit me like a punch. Not just sweat. Not just cologne. It was sex. I knew it in my bones. She tried to kiss me. I flinched. She noticed. Asked if something was wrong. And I lied. I said, long day at work. She nodded and disappeared into the bathroom, humming like nothing had happened. But everything had changed. That was the first night I didn't sleep beside her. I laid on the couch staring at the ceiling, counting all the signs I'd missed. The extra practices. The new lingerie. The sudden confidence. The way she started locking her phone. And Brandon. Always Brandon. I needed proof. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed her. It was a Thursday afternoon. Jessica had told me she was heading to a late session at the club, nothing out of the ordinary. Brandon's helping me work on my backhand, she'd said, tying her hair into a ponytail like it was any other day. She kissed me on the cheek. Said, wish me luck. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, but I noticed something else this time. Guilt? Faint, but there. She left in her usual gray hoodie and tennis skirt. I waited 10 minutes before grabbing my keys and heading out the door. The drive was short, maybe 15 minutes, but my hands were shaking on the wheel the entire time. I felt like a criminal. Like I was betraying her. How wasted is that? I was the one sneaking around, following her, doubting her, while she, well, I still didn't know for sure. The tennis club sat behind rows of oak trees, manicured and polished, the kind of place you joined for status more than sport. I parked a block away and approached on foot, my heart hammering in my chest like I was about to rob a bank. I crept along the chain-link fence, staying out of sight, until I found a gap between the hedges where I could see the private courts. There they were. Jessica and Brandon. She was laughing, hitting balls lazily across the net. He stood on the opposite side, shirtless, a towel around his neck, sipping water. Their movements weren't professional. Not focused. They weren't drilling serves or running footwork drills. They were flirting. She hit a ball too hard and he exaggerated a stumble, pretending to fall. She ran over, bent down to help him, and he grabbed her waist. She didn't pull away. In fact, she leaned into it. Smiled. Then she kissed him. Not a quick peck. A slow, deep, deliberate kiss, the kind of kiss you only give someone when you've done it a dozen times before. I felt my throat close. The heat rushed to my face and I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from crying out. I turned away. Fast. I walked back to the car in a haze, barely seeing where I was going. My stomach churned. My chest felt hollow. I couldn't believe what I'd seen, even though I'd expected it. I sat behind the wheel for 10 minutes, hands gripping it like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. My phone buzzed. It was her. Hey babe. Practice ran late, heading home soon, Reheart. I stared at the message for a full minute. I didn't reply. That night, I didn't ask where she'd been. She told me anyway, some lie about a tough workout and how she needed a long shower. I just nodded. Let her talk. Let her go to bed. Let her sleep beside me like nothing had changed. But in my mind, the kiss played on a loop. And I knew I couldn't unsee it. Next came the part one dreaded the most. I had to confront her. But not yet. First, I needed to know everything. I became obsessed. Not with revenge. Not with confrontation. But with understanding why. Why her? Why him? Why now? For days, I watched her from across the room like she was a stranger living in my house. Every word she said felt rehearsed. Every smile seemed pasted on. I couldn't tell what was real anymore. Was she still in love with me? Was she ever? But I wasn't ready to accuse her. Not yet. I needed proof. Not just a kiss caught behind hedges. I needed her words. Her lies in writing. Something undeniable. Something I could shove in front of her face when the moment came and say, This is what you did to me. That's when I started watching her phone. Jessica had always been protective of it. She claimed it was a habit from work, something about patient confidentiality and ethics. But now I understood. It wasn't ethics. It was secrets. Shame. Guilt. She kept it locked, obviously. Face ID. Password. And she was good, never left it lying around, never distracted enough to forget. But everyone slips up eventually. It happened on a rainy Tuesday night. We were watching some forgettable show on Netflix. She curled up next to me like nothing was wrong. Halfway through an episode, she fell asleep, her head resting on my chest, her breathing soft and steady. Her phone was in her lap. For the first time, she'd fallen asleep without locking it. I didn't hesitate. I lifted it gently, careful not to wake her, and angled it toward her face. It unlocked with a quiet click. I froze for a second, pulse pounding in my ears, then slid into her messages. There he was, Brandon. They weren't using code names. No secret apps. Just plain old iMessage, like they didn't have a care in the world. As if I didn't exist. As if our life didn't exist. I scrolled back weeks. It was all there. You make me feel like a woman again. Wish I could sneak away with you tonight. He's clueless. Still thinks I'm just training. My throat tightened. My eyes blurred. Every message was a knife in my chest. She told him things she hadn't said to me in years. Raw, intimate things. Things that didn't belong to me anymore. Then I saw photos. Not nude. Nothing explicit. But suggestive. A towel slipping low on her hips. A mirror selfie in the club bathroom. Sweat gleaming on her chest. Her mouth slightly parted. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't breathe. Then his replies. God, you're so sexy. He doesn't deserve you. When are you going to tell him? Tell me. As if it were already decided. As if she was just waiting for the right time to end us. I closed the app. Locked the phone. Set it gently back in her lap. She stirred but didn't wake. I sat there, frozen. My heart breaking in silence. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Because now I wasn't just a man with suspicions. I was a man with evidence. And that changed everything. The next morning, I acted like nothing had changed. I made her coffee just the way she liked it. Oat milk, 2 sugars, a dash of cinnamon. She smiled when she saw it, mumbled something sweet, kissed me on the cheek, and called me the best fiancé ever. I smiled back. I even laughed. God help me, I laughed. And the whole time, I was screaming inside. She sat across from me, scrolling through her phone, probably texting him under the table, and I played along. We were a couple again, pretending, rehearsing a life that was already gone. And here's the part one hate admitting. For a moment, I let myself believe the lie. I told myself maybe it wasn't real. Maybe I had misunderstood the texts. Maybe it was just flirting, a mistake. Maybe it hadn't gone that far yet. Because the truth, the real, ugly truth, I didn't want to lose her. I didn't want to start over. I didn't want to cancel the wedding. I didn't want to call my parents and tell them she wasn't who we thought she was. I didn't want to erase the future we'd spent 5 years building. The house, the dog, the plans, the dreams. I was too weak, so I buried it. Deep. For days, I carried that knowledge like a burning coal in my chest, pretending it wasn't there. I went to work, smiled at clients, nodded in meetings. I went home, ate dinner with her, listened to her talk about her day, about Brandon, about training. I even let her touch me, hold me, lie beside me. I was disgusting. But every night, when she drifted off to sleep, I watched her in the dark, wondering who she really was, wondering how long she'd been faking it, wondering how much of me she had to lie to just to keep smiling. And then came the night that shattered the last piece of denial I had left. It was Saturday. She said she was going out for a girls' night, said she needed a break from training, from stress, told me not to wait up. I'll probably crash at Jenna's, she said. tossing her dress into a bag. She was glowing, excited. Her makeup was too perfect. Her perfume different. I let her go. Then, I waited 10 minutes and checked the location tracker I had installed on her phone the night I found the texts. She wasn't with Jenna. She wasn't anywhere near her. She was at a hotel. Downtown. Room 428. That number burned into my mind like a brand. I stared at it on the screen until my hands started to tremble. I didn't know what I'd expected. That she'd lie but not cheat? That she'd flirt but not touch? I saw her car on the tracker. Parked. I saw the dot sit still for an hour. 2. I knew exactly what she was doing. And still, I stayed home. Because I wasn't ready, not yet, to become the man who walks into a hotel room and finds the love of his life in bed with another man. I wasn't ready to see the truth with my own eyes. But I would be. Very soon. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't even sit still. I walked circles around our living room, the floor cold beneath my bare feet, staring out the window into the dark as if the city might offer some kind of answer. Every few minutes I checked the tracker again. Still there. Room 428. Still in his arms. Still betraying me while I sat alone in the home we built together. Around 3 a.m. I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't plan it. I didn't think it through. I just grabbed my jacket, keys, and phone and walked out into the night. The streets were quiet. Dead. Like they were holding their breath for me. I drove in silence, no music, no GPS. I knew exactly where the hotel was. I'd passed it 100 times. I never imagined I'd one day walk through its lobby with revenge in my heart. The valet didn't even look at me as I pulled up. I left the car idling and strode through the glass doors like a man possessed. The lobby was gold and marble, fake elegance and late-night emptiness. A tired receptionist behind the desk barely glanced up. I didn't need him. I took the elevator straight to the 4th floor, the walls closing in around me like a coffin. I stood in front of room 428 for what felt like hours. My hand hovered over the door. Fist clenched. I could hear faint laughter inside. A woman's voice, her voice, light, carefree, intimate. Then silence. Then the unmistakable sound of a bed creaking. My stomach turned. I could feel bile rising in my throat. Every fiber of my body screamed to storm in, to end it, to drag her out and make her see what she'd done. But I didn't knock. I didn't shout. I just stood there. Because in that moment, something inside me broke. Not in a loud, dramatic way. Not a collapse. It was quiet. Like a string snapping under too much tension. I realized the man she was with, Brandon, the coach, the liar, wasn't the enemy. She was the woman I had loved. The woman I had trusted. The woman who had whispered forever and meant it only as long as it was convenient. I walked away. Not because I was afraid, but because I finally understood the truth. There was nothing left to save. No confrontation would fix it. No shouting match would make her love me again. No dramatic discovery would undo what she had already done, over and over, for weeks, maybe months. I wasn't a part of her life anymore. I was a placeholder. An illusion. Something she used to feel safe until something better or someone came along. I drove home in silence. When I walked through the door, the place felt different. Colder. Emptier. Like her betrayal had seeped into the walls, tainted every memory, poisoned every smile we'd ever shared. I sat on the couch and waited for the sun to rise. She came home around 7 a.m., her hair messy, her makeup smudged, wearing the same dress as the night before. She looked surprised to see me awake. I didn't say a word. Not yet. But the silence said everything. And for the first time I saw fear in her eyes. She stood in the doorway, blinking like a deer caught in headlights, clutching her purse as if it could shield her from what was coming. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I just stared at her, really stared, and watched the layers of her lies peel off one by one. Her smile faltered. Her eyes darted toward the kitchen like she was thinking of some excuse, some quick cover-up she could throw together. But there was nothing left to save her. "Where were you?" I asked, finally breaking the silence. She hesitated just for a second, but it was enough. I saw the gears turning, her lips parting, about to form a lie. And that's when I snapped. "Don't," I said, voice low but sharp. "Don't lie to me again." Her mouth closed. Her shoulders dropped. For a moment, she looked like she might cry. But there were no tears. Just silence. Heavy, bitter silence. "I know," I continued. "I know about Brandon. I know about the hotel. I know about room 428. Her eyes widened. Panic now. Real panic. "Marcus, No. Don't. I read the messages. I saw everything." She swallowed hard, her whole body tensing. She looked smaller, somehow. Weaker. She stepped forward like she wanted to reach me, to touch me, to fix this. But there was no fixing it. Not now. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. Don't insult me, I said, standing. You chose this. Over and over again. Every time you snuck out, every time you texted him, every time you looked me in the eyes and lied, you made a choice. Tears welled in her eyes now, but I didn't care. I'd cried enough for both of us. Was it the sex? I asked, my voice breaking despite myself. Was he better than me? Stronger? Younger? She shook her head furiously. It wasn't about that. Then what? What the hell was it about? She looked down at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. I don't know, she whispered. He made me feel alive. Alive. That word hit me harder than anything else she could have said. Like I had been a grave she was living in. Like I had killed her slowly with my love, my loyalty, my boring stability. And the worst part? I believed her. That was the final nail in the coffin, not the cheating, not the lying, not even the sex. It was the realization that I hadn't just lost her to another man. I had lost her to a version of herself that I couldn't compete with. She didn't love him. She loved who she became when she was with him. And that woman? She wasn't mine anymore. I want you to leave, I said, quiet but firm. Her face crumpled. Marcus, please, don't make this harder than it has to be. Pack your things. I want you out by tonight. She tried to argue. Tried to beg. But I'd made up my mind. The man who sat there, staring at her, wasn't the man she left behind when she walked into that hotel room. That man was gone. She finally nodded. Went upstairs. I heard drawers opening, bags zipping. I didn't follow her. I couldn't. When she came back down an hour later, her face was blotchy, her eyes red, but she didn't say a word. She just stood there, suitcase in hand, like a ghost. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't reply. She walked out the door. And just like that, 5 years of love, promises, and memories vanished behind a click of the latch. But I didn't cry. Not anymore. The silence after she left was the loudest thing I had ever heard. It filled every corner of the apartment, in the hum of the refrigerator, the distant buzz of traffic outside, the quiet tick of the wall clock she had picked out during a weekend trip to Vermont. The kind of silence that doesn't soothe. The kind that suffocates. For the first few hours, I just sat on the couch, surrounded by shadows of her, the throw blanket still carrying her perfume, a coffee mug with her lipstick stain drying on the rim, a tennis bracelet she must have forgotten in the rush to pack. I didn't touch anything. I didn't cry. I just sat there and listened to the echo of a life that wasn't mine anymore. Eventually, I stood and began moving through the apartment like I was walking through a crime scene. Everything felt contaminated. The bathroom where she got ready for those nights with him. The kitchen counter where she leaned while texting him, probably with me standing a few feet away, blissfully blind. The bedroom of God, the bedroom felt like a war zone. Our bed no longer looked like a place of comfort but a stage where betrayal had rehearsed itself in silence. I stripped the sheets. I didn't even wash them, I threw them out. The pillows too. The scented candles she liked. The robe she wore. I filled 2 garbage bags with pieces of her. It felt violent and yet not enough. There's no way to fully cleanse what someone leaves behind when they leave you behind first. And then came the messages. Friends started reaching out. Her friends. Our mutuals. They'd heard something had happened. Are you okay? We're here for you. Let us know if you want to talk. I said nothing. I wasn't ready to let anyone into the disaster zone. Not yet. The worst was Jenna, her supposed best friend. The one she claimed she'd spent the night with. I just found out. I had no idea. I'm so sorry, Marcus. Liar. She had known. Maybe not the first time, but eventually. They always do. Someone always knows. But loyalty is a flexible thing in friendships like theirs. Secrets are currency, and betrayal is just the interest you pay when things get inconvenient. That night I drank. More than I should have. I sat on the balcony with a bottle of whiskey and the city lights stretched out before me like 1,000 tiny lies. I let myself feel it all. The anger. The humiliation. The heartbreak. The crushing loneliness. I wanted to scream, to break something, to punch a hole in the sky. But all I did was whisper her name. Over and over. Like it could still mean something. Like it still belonged to me. In the days that followed, I began to realize something that made the pain even worse. There wasn't just one version of Jessica. There were many. The woman I fell in love with. The woman who laughed at my jokes when no one else did. The woman who cried during sappy commercials and danced barefoot in our kitchen. But then there was her, too, the one who lied, who snuck around, who let another man's hands rewrite the language of her body. And the worst part? They were the same person. That contradiction haunted me. Because I couldn't stop loving the first version. even as I despised the second. Some mornings I'd wake up and instinctively reach for her side of the bed only to find cold sheets and emptiness. I'd start making 2 cups of coffee out of habit only to dump one down the sink. I kept expecting her voice in the hallway, her laugh in the background, her presence in the mundane rituals of our life. But she wasn't there, and the absence was sharp enough to cut. I started avoiding places we used to go, the corner coffee shop, the park trail we walked after dinner, even the grocery store where she once sang along to the store radio and embarrassed me in the best way. Everything reminded me of her. Not just of what we had, but of what she ruined. I wondered if she felt anything. If she missed me. If Brandon was worth it. If their hotel nights turned into something more. Or if once the secrecy was gone, it all collapsed. I wanted to believe she felt guilty. That she cried herself to sleep. That her chest ached the way mine did. But deep down I didn't think she did. Because to betray someone like that you have to silence something inside yourself, and once you've done it once it only gets easier. What hurt most wasn't the infidelity. It wasn't even the sex. It was that she had chosen someone else to be vulnerable with. Someone else to laugh with. Someone else to trust. She had shared her thoughts, her fears, her ambitions, all the things that used to be mine, with a man who didn't know how many times she had cried in her sleep or what side of the bed she curled into when she had nightmares. She gave him that version of her, the real one. Or maybe the most recent lie. I tried to hate her. I really did. Some nights I almost convinced myself. But then I'd hear an old voicemail. Or find a photo buried deep in my phone. Or pass someone wearing her perfume. And all the hate would turn to grief again. Because that's what betrayal really is, not anger, not rage. It's mourning. Mourning someone who's still alive. It took weeks before I opened the box. After she left, I had gathered every physical trace of her, framed photos, birthday cards, handwritten notes, receipts from restaurants where we once toasted to forever, and shoved them into a cardboard box I couldn't bear to look at. I stored it in the hall closet like a time bomb. Every time I walked past, I could feel it, like it was radiating regret through the door. And then one night I opened it. Not because I was ready, but because I needed to know I could. I pulled everything out slowly, one piece at a time, like I was exhuming the corpse of a life that died quietly in my arms. A photo from our first anniversary, both of us sunburned and smiling, her head resting on my shoulder like it belonged there. A letter she wrote me on the morning of her new job, thank you for believing in me before I believed in myself. A plane ticket to Seattle where we almost moved. A menu she scribbled hearts on while we waited for dessert. These were relics of a woman who no longer existed. Or maybe she never had. I read them all. I forced myself to. I cried more than I wanted to. I cursed more than I thought I would. But when I was done, I didn't put them back in the box. I burned them. Out on the balcony, in a deep metal bowl with the cold night air wrapping around me like a witness. I struck the match, dropped it in, and watched the paper curl and blacken, turning declarations of love into ash and smoke. I thought it would hurt more. I thought it would feel like killing something sacred. But it didn't. It felt like cleansing. Like shedding dead skin. Like exhaling for the first time after holding my breath for too many years. And for the first time since she left, I felt something strange. Not anger. Not sorrow. Not emptiness. Peace. It didn't last long. It wasn't loud. But it was real. Like the silence had finally stopped screaming. Like the ghosts had grown tired of haunting me. I didn't know what came next. I didn't have a roadmap or a mantra or some bullshit self-help slogan. I just knew I had survived the worst of it. She broke me. But I wasn't broken anymore. I was waking up. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It doesn't arrive like a lightning bolt or a sunrise. It sneaks in quietly, in moments you don't expect. Like laughing at a stupid video for the first time in weeks. Like realizing her toothbrush is gone and feeling relief instead of grief. Like waking up one morning and not thinking about her until lunch. That's when I knew I was starting to come back to myself. I changed things. Not out of spite, but necessity. I painted the walls. Replaced the furniture. Sold the bed. Bought a new mattress and placed it in the middle of an empty room, a clean slate where no lies had been whispered into the dark. I started cooking again, listening to vinyl, running before sunrise. I called old friends I'd neglected while I was busy building a future with someone who already had one foot out the door. And somewhere along the way I forgave her. Not because she deserved it, but because I did. Carrying that anger, that bitterness, that heartbreak, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. I had bled enough. I didn't want to keep bleeding every time I thought of her name. So I let it go. I released it all, the betrayal, the humiliation, the questions that would never get answers. I didn't need closure from her. I gave it to myself. One evening, months later, I saw her. Pure accident. At a cafe near the river where we used to walk our dog. She was with someone, not Brandon. Someone new. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically. Just less. Like whatever glow she once had faded. Her laugh wasn't the same. It didn't carry. She saw me. Our eyes met. She froze. I nodded once. She looked like she wanted to say something, to explain, to apologize, maybe even to reconnect. But I just smiled. Not cruelly. Not bitterly. Just peacefully. And then I turned and walked away. Because I didn't need her words anymore. I had built something stronger than an apology. I had built myself back. She took a part of me when she left, but what I gained in return was worth even more. Not a new love. Not yet. But a new man. One who knows what he deserves. One who knows what betrayal feels like and what survival looks like. One who no longer measures his worth by someone else's inability to value him. This isn't a story about cheating. It's a story about becoming. And I wouldn't change a damn thing.